What do fashion, technology, and farm-to-table restaurants have in common? They're all businesses that need to reinvent themselves every 3 to 4 months. As CEO of a major fashion brand for 18 years, I sat at a table, the head of a table with a team, and we had to reinvent pants and tops and jackets and recolor and restyle and reshape 12 to 15 times a year for 18 years. Imagine that is what I had to do as the CEO of a major fashion brand. Here's the thing, we all have to do that now. We are living in a time that the world is shifting and changing every 12 to 18 months. In fact, it's shifting and changing way more often than that. Think about technology. Think about AI. Think about just several months ago, nobody had ever heard of it. And now everybody's concerned about what's going to happen next with it. So how are you reinventing your business? How are you thinking? So I'm going to share with you some of the skills it takes to reinvent constantly. Skill number 1 is to know what's coming. How do we know what's coming? We don't. Right? Do you know what's coming? I mean, none of us have any idea, seriously, about what is gonna happen next, in the next week, in the next month, in the next 2 months. But how do you figure that out? First of all, you need to know where you are now. Where are you now, and where is your company in relation to everybody else's company in your business? How do you find that out? Well, one of the skills that we as leaders need to do is know what's happening in our industry. Are you getting industry magazines? Magazines, really? I know it's old school, but a lot of industries and associations still put out their magazines. Are you reading blogs about what's happening? Are you following trend reports? And are you paying attention to what's happening in adjacent industries to where you are? As a professional speaker, I need to know what's happening in the meetings industry. Are they having more meetings or less meetings? Are we meeting in person or are we meeting virtually? Are hybrid meetings still happening? I'm working with a nonprofit in Las Vegas. They have my heart. They're one of the largest nonprofits taking care of sexual and domestic abuse, and I'm working with the executive team there. They have to reinvent constantly because the government regulations and the government input of finances continuously changes depending on what the government decides to happen. So how do they do that? What we did in the fashion industry and how that applies to a nonprofit and how it applies to you is I needed to know what was happening now, what was getting delivered this month. Then what's getting delivered in 3 months where I'm getting top of production. Then what's getting delivered in 5 months where I'm getting pre-production, where we can fit it and try it and look at it and see if it works. Then we're looking at what happens in 6 months, and then we're designing for 12 months out. So what I encourage all of my companies to do that I work with is to have people to create a team that has all of those capabilities. Do you have a team of people who are comfortable working in the now, working in the next 3 months? And then are there people on your team who can look out 6 months? And then are there the visionaries on your team who can look out a year? Now I know a lot of you are thinking, oh no, I'm gonna look out 5 years because we're gonna make a 5-year plan. I got some bad news for you. 5-year plans don't work anymore. It is no longer the time that we can spend 5 years, create new Coke, launch it globally, and have it fail. That is not what happens anymore. We're now in a time of a 12 to 18 month cycle. And I want to invite you, instead of working on implementation, to shift to experimentation. Think about it. When you're implementing, you have the possibility of failing. If we take all of this time and energy and resources and we go to implement something, if it fails, then what do we do? But what about experimenting? Every time you fail in an experiment, it just gives you the next thing to try. So for a company like Coca-Cola, and you've seen them do this, instead of spending 5 years on a giant initiative, they'll now experiment with a new flavor, a new can, a new design in a limited market for a limited period of time and see how that worked. Reinvention is like brushing your teeth. It is the skill that needs to happen for every business to still be in business in 5 years. Do you all want to still be in business in 5 years? I know we all do, but that's going to require a shift in thinking from implementing to experimenting. We don't have time anymore to plan and plan and plan. Flexibility beats perfection. If we can just leave with how can we be flexible, how can we experiment, how can we try things, we can then successfully move into the future. Because hey, who knew the Barbie movie was going to make millions and millions of dollars this summer? Who knew? If you'll notice that every fashion brand went to pink this summer, and all of the pink sold out, because it was a risk to put all of their chips in that one basket, right? But it paid off. And then I want you to pay attention what comes next. After pink, you're going to shift to magenta or cranberry as the color of the next season, because it's the brightness of the pink adding the shade of black for the somberness of the fall. And who knew that we'd all need to get as serious as we are right now? So I invite you to understand that the clock is ticking, but take a big deep breath, relax, because there's no risk when you experiment with what comes next. Thank you very much.